What's poppin', my combat sports brethren? It's good to be back to like a normal schedule. I've been moving around across states and just trying to figure shit out, get situated with a new job and whatnot. Low-key homeless, couch hopping at the moment, but you know, it's all good. I got shit figured out now, and I can finally get back to what I love doing, which is covering these fights. Before I get into this card, or tomorrow's card, I guess, let me just break down that I have 136 wins to 82 losses. I'm counting last week's bullshit robbery as a correct main event pick. Cry about it if you have a problem with it. We all know what we just watched with our eyes, and that was Kai Kara-France dominating, arguably 4-1. So I'm counting that shit 9-9. But other than that, 8-5. Moving on to the star prospect of the night, we got Blake Bilder. Blake Bilder is, I believe, undefeated, or he only has one loss, and he looked great in his UFC debut. So I'm looking forward to seeing him move up the UFC ladder. And then moving on, we've got the show stealer of the night, Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush. I mean, what more is there to say about this fight? Everyone is saying it's the real main event, and it's because it really is the real main event. This is the most high-level fight of the night, and I'm really looking forward to this one. Now, the fighter in the oven, of course, Charles Oliveira. If he loses this one, and especially if he loses dominantly, his path to a title is looking rough. It's not looking like our boy Charlie Olives is going to be back at the top if he can't take out Beneil Dariush. And I don't know. I mean, he has decent odds too. I guess we'll find out this Saturday. Let's start off with the first fight of the night, though. We've got Diana Belbita taking on Maria Oliveira. Honestly, this is a really difficult fight to pick because they both kind of suck. No offense, but it is what it is. You're fighting in the UFC. Good for y'all. I'm going to pick Diana Belbita just simply because she's a little bit better on the feet and a little bit better in the grappling department. I mean, anybody with the last name Oliveira shouldn't be too bad in the grappling, but yeah, I'm going to go with Belbita. Next up, David Dvorak taking on Stefan Ehrig. I'm going to go with Stefan, and the reason I'm having a hard time judging whether or not I should do that is because lately when I picked the new guy against the UFC vet with a 50-50 record, the UFC vet has been pulling it out. But I don't know. I just think David Dvorak is really bottom of the barrel flyweight outside of the rankings, and I feel I can trust a young up-and-comer to come in here and knock him out, honestly. Moving on up the card, Kyle Nelson taking on Blake Bilder. Again, like I said, prospect of the night, Blake Bilder. Kyle Nelson's not that bad, but is he the fighter that just came off of a draw? A draw with Doo-Ho Choi. I believe he is. I definitely cannot pick him to beat Blake Bilder if you can only go to a draw with Doo-Ho Choi. Doo-Ho Choi's not bad, don't get me wrong, but he's not next level featherweight like Blake Bilder. Blake Bilder's got great striking, great grappling, he's quick, and he seems to have a good fight IQ, so I'm going to trust Blake Bilder to get this one done via submission. Moving on up the prelims, Ayman Zahabi taking on Arichi Lang. Arichi Lang's a great striker. Kind of been thrown to the wolves in the UFC, but I don't know. Sometimes he swims, sometimes he sinks, and I feel like against somebody like Ayman Zahabi, it's probably going to sink. At this current moment, I've got Ayman Zahabi by a submission after maybe dropping him, hurting him on the feet bad, landing heavy ground and pound right after that. That's what my prediction's going to be. Fuck it. Ayman Zahabi by a knockout. Fuck a submission. He was talking about how he wanted to knock out in his early fight pre-fight press conference, so fuck it. Next up on the card, Miranda Maverick taking on Jasmine Jasudavicius. I'm really glad that this fight isn't above Chris Curtis and Nasruddin Imavov anymore because it was a couple days ago. Early prediction, this is low-key a lock of the card. Miranda Maverick has got to win this. I don't see how the fuck she can drop this one. Unless it's some fluky out of nowhere, I don't even know, knockout or something going on. Some funny business. I really feel like Miranda Maverick has got this one in the bag. She's probably just going to grind it out to a unanimous decision win. Per usual, she was low-key robbed against Macy Barber, let's be real. And if that hadn't happened, has she lost a fight since then? I don't even remember. I don't know, but I feel like she hasn't. So Miranda Maverick all day. Moving on up the prelims, the prelim headliner, Nasruddin Imavov taking on Chris Curtis. I really like Chris Curtis. I want to pick him, but every time I pick him, he loses now. Picked him against Jack Hermanson and picked him in his last bout against Kelvin Gastelum, which I low-key regretted because I kind of had a feeling Kelvin could win that one. And that's how I feel here with Nasruddin. I feel like he can bank the first 2 rounds and then most likely will lose the 3rd round. And Chris Curtis is going to throw his hands up like, what the fuck? I won a round out of 3. So I'm going to go with Nasruddin Imavov. I feel like he's just too technical. He's too lanky on the feet. And if worse comes to worse, his grappling is better than Curtis's. So next up on the card, the main card now, Marc-Andre Barriault taking on Eric Anders. I'm going to side with the Canadian on home turf, home soil. But I'll be honest, Eric Anders has a knack for winning these types of fights where it seems like on paper he should for sure lose. Then he just pulls one out of his ass. I don't know. I feel like Marc-Andre Barriault and his power bar style, breaking people down, wearing them down with pressure and pace. I feel like that's Eric Anders' kryptonite. So if he can make it out of the first round, I think we've got really good odds in Marc-Andre Barriault pulling this one out 30-27 or 29-28. Next up card, we got Dan Ige versus Nate the Train. Personally, this is my favorite fight on the card just because Nate the Train in the UFC. I love this man, and I can't wait to see him go out there and hopefully knock the fuck out of Dan Ige. Look, this is the only fight on the card that I'm going to call that I don't necessarily think, like on paper, 9 out of 10 times, I think that Dan Ige probably wins a majority, but I'm still going to call my heart of hearts underdog, Nate the Train. I hope that the momentum and the win streak he's on right now is going to carry and he could do great things. And you know what? I want him to be one of the next big superstars in the UFC. And to really reach that big superstar mark, you need to start winning a lot and put together big win streaks against good names. Dan Ige could be just another stepping stone on the path that Nate the Train is following right now. So I'm going to go with Nate the Train by a decision. I feel like he could probably snake out the last 2 rounds maybe. Moving on up the card, the feature fight of the night, Mike Mallow taking on Adam Fugit. Adam is not a bad fighter. Mike Mallow just seems too crisp on the feet. Seems like he has way too much power in his hands. And his grappling is dangerous, especially in the first round. I mean, we don't even really see him get out of the first round. He just out-grapples everybody and finds a submission. And I don't necessarily see that happening. I actually feel like he might find the knockout. If not, it'll go to a decision. Something tells me Adam is going to be too keen to the submissions and too keen to that heavy grappling style. And unless he's just really and truly severely behind in every area in that department, I feel like he can, withstand that heavy grappling onslaught and not get subbed super quickly. Now for our co-main event of the evening, the true main event, a fight that we've all been looking forward to for a while now, especially because it got pushed back. Charles Oliveira taking on Beneil Dariush. This is the fight to see if Charles can return to greatness and get back towards that rematch with Islam and potentially win his belt back. Because let's be real, it really did not look like Charles out there that last time out. I kind of believe him when he says that it just wasn't him, and I see why he's so ashamed of that performance, because it really just didn't seem like the Charles that we were all hyping up fighting Islam. And I'm really hoping that he can get back to that. But I'm sorry to spoil the parade for the Charles fans, and I know there's a lot of them, me included, but Beneil Dariush has always been great. He's been slept on for a while. I've always been preaching to the choir about Beneil Dariush, and I'm really happy to see him, have the media and the fans ride behind him, and even the fighters are saying that he deserves the next title shot if he wins this fight. And that's 1,000% true. And to be honest, with it being a 3-rounder, Oliveira never even makes it past fucking 3 rounds in a 5-rounder anyways. Rarely. So it's not like that necessarily matters for him. But for Dariush, if this was 5 rounds, honestly, I would say it might even be more dominant of a win. But it being 3 rounds still kind of plays in his favor, in my opinion. Just because he has that awkward striking. He has really nice grappling, slick grappling, and great grappling defense. I just feel like it's going to be the complete kryptonite to Charles Oliveira and how he fights. Unless he can get right on the pedal, get in his face immediately, close distance, and find the knockout within 1 round. If that doesn't happen, I feel like Beneil is just eventually going to drown him over time and win a probably competitive decision, but also convincing. Because they can be both. And just a side note, whenever people say that, it can't be a robbery because it's a close fight, that's the dumbest logic I've ever heard. You can have close fights and have robberies. Look at last weekend's main event. That was 1,000% Kai Kara Francis fight, but it was still close. It's not arguable that it went any other way, and that shit, that tweaks me out when people say that. Moving on into our main event, Amanda Nunes taking on Irina Aldana. This might come to a surprise for y'all. I know originally in my early fight prediction I said Amanda Nunes. I'm going to just side with her. But I'm going with Irina Aldana. I got that feeling in my loins that I had when Valentina won. I mean, when Valentina got smoked by Alexa Grasso earlier this year. That same feeling in my loins that predicted Izzy to get a second round knockout over Pereira in a fight that everyone was counting him out on. And I got that feeling in my loins again. I feel like Irina Aldana is just going to bring it to her. Out of all of the fighters in the top 5 at bantamweight, this is the only fighter that I would ever give a spark of a chance to, aside from maybe Juliana Pena in a rematch. But again, I don't even think that she could win again. Irina Aldana is extremely technical on the feet. Her boxing is super crisp. And the fact that she's working with the likes of Brandon Moreno, with the likes of Diego Lopez, who we've seen is also a pretty great talent, as well as, of course, Alexa Grasso. Like, there's too much greatness backing her, and I feel like this is her moment. And I've also noticed that Amanda has not been posting about this fight much on social media. I feel like she's kind of evolved more into her mom role, and I feel like she is kind of drank her own Kool-Aid. So I'm going with Irina Aldana. I'm going by a second round knockout, upset of the century. I mean, not really, honestly. Nothing's more of an upset than Alexa Grasso and Valentina this year so far. But yeah, I'm calling it, boys, so put the money on it. Drop a sub if I get it right. You owe me that one. I'll catch y'all.